23 cycles. That is how long I have been standing at this checkpoint, watching the galaxy's so-called civilized species parade through the interstellar commerce hub like it is some kind of cosmic zoo. 23 cycles of Thexian merchants trying to smuggle contraband in their stomach pouches, of Yaloran diplomats throwing fits over seating arrangements, of Corendil warriors compensating for something with unnecessarily large plasma rifles. You would think after 2 decades of this nonsense, nothing could surprise me anymore. You would be wrong. My name is Vex Telf, and I am what the bureaucrats call a senior security officer for the hub's diplomatic quarter. What I actually am, is a babysitter for overgrown children, with access to weapons of mass destruction. The Krillian High Command thought my, quote, exemplary service record and unshakable composure, unquote, made me perfect for this assignment. What they meant was I had survived 3 border wars without losing my mind, so clearly I could handle politicians without shooting anyone. Most days it is a close call. The hub itself is neutral territory, a massive station floating in the Tertian void where species come to argue about trade routes, sign treaties they will break in 6 months, and pretend they are not planning to stab each other in the back. Politically speaking, we are in what you might call an interesting time. That is diplomat speak for everything is on fire, but we are all smiling through the flames. The newest addition to this circus, humans. Oh, you have probably heard about them. Everyone has. The species that went from splitting atoms to splitting space-time in less than 200 cycles. The ones who looked at a galaxy full of established powers and said, sure, we will take a seat at that table, thanks for asking. Depending on who you ask, they are either the most dangerous newcomers in galactic history, or the most suicidally reckless. Sometimes both. Usually both. Command decided in their infinite wisdom that humanity needed to be integrated into our trade networks. Never mind that half the council thinks they are ticking time bombs with opposable thumbs. Never mind that their own planet nearly killed itself 6 times before they figured out space travel. No, let us invite them to negotiate trade agreements. What could possibly go wrong? So here I am, standing at Terminal 7, waiting for the human delegation to arrive. My scales are itching. They always itch when something bad is about to happen. It is like a sixth sense, except instead of lottery numbers it predicts catastrophes. My second-in-command, Rokan, sidles up next to me. He is young, eager, still thinks this job means something. Give him 5 cycles. He will learn. Sir, the human transport just cleared the outer perimeter, he says, his voice pitched with that special kind of nervousness reserved for species you are not sure will explode, implode, or simply do something incomprehensibly stupid. Arrival in 15 minutes. Wonderful, I mutter, checking my plasma rifle's charge for the 3rd time. Not that it would help if things went sideways. Human ships have this alarming tendency to be either unarmed diplomatic vessels or disguised warships. There is no in-between with these people. What do we know about their delegation? Rokan pulls up a datapad, his claws clicking against the screen. Single diplomat. Minimal security detail. Name is Cassidy Ran. Credentials check out. Former military service before transitioning to diplomatic corps. I feel my eye twitch. 1 diplomat. Minimal security. To a station where 3 separate species currently want humanity barred from galactic society. Former military. I repeat slowly. What kind of military? Does not specify, sir. Human military classifications are confusing. Of course they are. Everything about humans is confusing. Their biology makes no sense. Their psychology makes less sense. And their tactics. I have read the reports from the Dulvorn contact incident. Humans do not fight like soldiers. They fight like cornered animals who learned calculus. Sir, Rokan says carefully, the briefing packet mentioned we should exercise caution. Humans can be, and I quote, unpredictable in high-stress scenarios. I bark out a laugh that sounds more like a growl. Unpredictable. That is what they are calling it now. The truth is messier. 3 months ago, a human freighter captain talked down a Vorlash battlecruiser commander from starting a war. Not through diplomacy. Not through threats. Through something the report called aggressive dad jokes and a confidence that bordered on clinical insanity. The Vorlash commander apparently became so confused he forgot why he was angry in the first place. That is what we are dealing with. A species that weaponizes confusion. Get the rest of security on standby, I tell Rokan, and tell them to keep their claws off their triggers unless I give the word. The last thing we need is an incident, because someone got nervous around the human. Understood, sir. As he walks away, I stare out at the viewport, watching the distant lights of approaching ships. Somewhere out there, a human diplomat named Cassidy is heading straight toward us, probably without a care in the world. My scales itch worse than ever. The human transport docks with a hiss that sounds almost apologetic, like it is sorry for existing in our carefully organized universe. I watch through the terminal screens as the airlock cycles through, my claws drumming against my rifle stock. Standard procedure. We have done this 1,000 times with 1,000 species, except nothing with humans is ever standard. The airlock opens, and out steps Cassidy. One human. One single solitary human in a simple gray suit that probably cost less than my boots. No armor. No visible weapons. No hovering security drones or personal shield generators. Behind her 2 human guards emerge, but calling them a security detail is generous. They look more like tired office workers who accidentally wandered into the wrong profession. One of them is actually yawning. I have seen Thexian trade merchants arrive with better protection, and they are selling fruit. Cassidy herself is average. Is that the word? Average height for a human, which makes her short by galactic standards. Dark hair pulled back in something between professional and I woke up late. Her eyes, though, those are scanning the terminal with the kind of awareness that makes my scales prickle. Not nervous awareness, predator awareness. She spots me immediately, which is fair. I am the only Krillian in a 100-meter radius covered in enough weaponry to level a small building. She does not flinch, does not hesitate, just walks straight toward me with a smile that is either friendly or mocking. With humans it is impossible to tell. You must be Vextor, she says, and her voice has this lightness to it, like we are meeting for coffee instead of a security checkpoint in a powder keg of political tension. Love the rifle. Make 7 plasma accelerator, right? My uncle had one. Never could get the kickback stabilizer to work properly. I blink. All 4 eyes one after another because my brain needs the extra processing time. She just identified my weapon by model number. Most diplomats cannot tell a plasma rifle from a pulse cannon, but this human just casually dropped technical specifications like we are discussing the weather. Standard security protocols, Ambassador Ryan, I say, keeping my voice flat and professional. I need to verify your credentials and scan your delegation for prohibited items. Of course, she says, already pulling out her identification chip. Do your thing. Though I should warn you, Jenkins over there has a cybernetic knee. It is going to light up your scanners like a festival display. Old combat injury, nothing exciting. Just boring bureaucratic augmentation. The guard she indicated, Jenkins apparently, gives a small wave. He is still yawning. I run the scanner over her credentials. Everything checks out naturally, but that does not mean anything. Forgeries these days are sophisticated enough to fool most systems. What bothers me is how relaxed she is. Every species has tells when they are nervous. Thexian's skin changes color. Yaloran's tendrils twitch. Colorindil breathe faster. Cassidy stands there like she is waiting for a shuttle to the beach. Your security detail is minimal, I observe, watching her face for a reaction. Most ambassadors bring at least 12 guards to the hub. You brought 2. Quality over quantity, she replies with a shrug that somehow conveys both nonchalance and complete confidence in her life choices. Besides, I read the security brief. You have got, 200 armed officers on this station? Figured you had things covered. No point in cluttering up the hallways. The scanner beeps. Clean. Her guards are clean too. Aside from Jenkins and his glowing knee joint that does indeed light up like a festival display. You understand the current political climate is tense, I say, trying a different angle. There are several delegations on this station who view human involvement in galactic affairs as problematic. Problematic, she repeats, and now the smile is definitely mocking. That is a nice word. Very diplomatic. Much better than the reports I read that said, and I am quoting here, humanity should be quarantined for the safety of civilized space. My tail twitches involuntarily. She did her homework. Those reports are from fringe groups, I say stiffly. Fringe groups with representatives on this station. She counters smoothly. Look, Vextor, can I call you Vex? I appreciate the concern, really. I do, but I have been doing this job long enough to know that walking in scared makes you a target. Walking in confident makes people think twice. Or it makes you look arrogant. Potato, tomato. I have no idea what potatoes or tomatoes have to do with anything. But before I can ask, she is already moving past me toward the main corridor, her guards trailing behind like particularly unmotivated shadows. Oh, one more thing, she calls over her shoulder, not breaking stride. If shooting starts, duck. I would hate for the paperwork to get complicated. And just like that, she is gone, disappearing into the hub like she owns the place. I stand there for a long moment trying to process what just happened. Rokan approaches cautiously, his expression carefully neutral. Sir? First impressions? I watch the corridor where the human vanished, my brain running through possibilities. Either Cassidy Wren is the most foolish diplomat I have ever met, walking into danger with nothing but confidence and bad jokes, or she is bluffing, putting on a show to mask genuine fear. Or, and this is the option that makes my scales itch, she actually believes she does not need protection, which would make her the most dangerous kind of human, the kind who knows exactly what they are capable of. Get medical on standby, I mutter. Something tells me we are going to need them. 4 hours. That is how long the universe gave me before everything went sideways. 4 peaceful, boring hours where Cassidy Wren attended her trade meetings, smiled at people who wanted her dead, and generally acted like she was on vacation instead of walking through a minefield of interstellar politics. I should have known it was too quiet. The alarm screams through my comm unit at 14:47 station time, and the words that follow make my blood run cold. Security breach. Diplomatic wing. Section 9. Multiple hostiles. Repeat, multiple hostiles in the diplomatic wing. I am moving before the message finishes, my team falling in behind me like a well-oiled machine. 20 cycles of training kicks in. Weapon check. Route calculated. Backup protocols initiated. We are professionals. We have handled station breaches before. Except the intel that crackles through my earpiece as we run makes my scales stand on end. Verlian separatists, Rolkan gasps, his breathing heavy as we sprint through the corridors. Crossnox faction. They bypassed security at the cargo docks, sir. At least 15 hostiles, military-grade weapons. Of course it is Crossnox, the Vrelian radical who has been screaming about human contamination of galactic purity for the past 6 months. The lunatic who thinks humanity is a virus that needs to be eradicated before it spreads. Intelligence said he was all talk, no action. Intelligence was wrong. We reach Section 9 in 3 minutes flat and the scene stops me in my tracks. The diplomatic conference hall has been transformed into a war zone. Scorch marks on the walls, overturned furniture, and in the center, 15 Vrelian separatists with enough firepower to punch through a battleship hull holding roughly 30 diplomats hostage. 30 representatives from a dozen species, all on their knees, all looking appropriately terrified. Well, 29 of them look terrified. Cassidy Wren is sitting cross-legged on the floor like she is at a particularly boring lecture, examining her fingernails with the kind of interest most people reserve for whole-of-it dramas. One of the Vrelian guards has a plasma rifle pointed at her head. She does not seem to have noticed. Crossnox himself stands at the front of the room, and I have to admit he looks the part of a revolutionary leader. Tall, even for a Vrelian. Scarred face that speaks of old battles. 4 arms, each holding a different weapon, because apparently 2 arms worth of guns was not enough to make his point. Vextar, he calls out, his voice amplified by the room's acoustics. How nice of you to join us. Please come in. Leave your weapons at the door, or I start executing hostages. Your choice. My team fans out behind me, taking cover positions. We are good. We are the best security detail on this station, but we are also outnumbered, outgunned, and facing enemies who are hopped up on ideology and probably stimulants. The math is not in our favor. Crossnox, I say, keeping my voice steady, trying to project calm authority even though my brain is running through tactical scenarios and rejecting each one as suicidal. You know this ends badly for you. Stand down, release the hostages, and we can negotiate. He laughs. And it is the kind of laugh that says negotiation was never on the table. Negotiate? Like you negotiated with the humans. Like you let these primitives, these violent, chaotic animals into our civilized galaxy. Oh good. A speech. Every hostage taker loves a speech. The Vrelian people will not stand for this contamination, Crossnox continues, warming to his subject. Humanity is a disease. And today we begin the treatment. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you make deals with monsters. He gestures broadly to the hostages, his weapons waving in a way that makes my trigger finger itch. Look at them. Representatives from the Thexian Commerce Guild, the Yelloran Science Collective, the Kirendil Military Council, all of them, willing to prostrate themselves before human aggression, all of them, traitors to galactic stability. One of the Thexian diplomats whimpers. Yalaran starts praying to their 17 gods. The Krendil warrior, to his credit, just glares at Crossnox with murder in his eyes. But even he is not stupid enough to try anything with 15 guns pointed at the group. And then there is Cassidy. She raises her hand like a student asking a question in class. Sorry, she says, her voice cutting through Crossnox's rant with the casual ease of someone commenting on the weather. Quick question. When you say disease, do you mean like a virus? Or more of a bacterial infection? Because the treatment protocols are very different, and I want to make sure we are being medically accurate here. The entire room freezes. Every eye compound, simple and artificial, turns to stare at the human diplomat who just interrupted a terrorist manifesto to argue semantics. Crossnox's face does something complicated. Confusion. Anger. More confusion. He clearly prepared for begging, for crying, for desperate pleas. He did not prepare for sass. You dare mock me? He snarls, stalking toward her, his weapons trained on her head. You dare mock the Vrelian Liberation Front? Cassidy looks up at him, and I swear on my ancestors, she is smiling. Not a scared smile. Not a nervous smile. A genuinely amused smile, like she just heard a mildly funny joke. Not mocking, she says. Just trying to understand your thesis statement. If we are going to do this whole hostage situation thing, I feel like we should at least have clear terminology. It helps with the post-incident reports. I am going to have a heart attack. 4 of them. 1 for each of my hearts. Crossnox stares at her, his weapons trembling slightly, and I realize something terrifying. He has lost control of the narrative. He expected fear. He got bureaucratic pedantry delivered with a smile, and he has no idea how to respond. My comm crackles. Command wants a status report. My team is waiting for orders. The hostages are watching this exchange like it is the most surreal thing they have ever witnessed. And Cassidy Run is still sitting there waiting for an answer to her question about disease classification, like she has all the time in the world. We are so incredibly doomed. Crossnox recovers from his confusion faster than I would like. His face hardens, and I can see him recalculating his approach. If fear will not work, maybe demonstration will. This is the moment in every hostage situation where things either de-escalate or spiral into nightmare territory. I have a sinking feeling I know which direction we are heading. You think this is funny, human? Crossnox hisses, circling Cassidy like a predator sizing up prey. You think your primitive psychology can unsettle me? I have fought in 7 campaigns. I have watched worlds burn. I have sacrificed everything for the purity of galactic civilization. Cassidy tilts her head, considering. 7 campaigns. Impressive. Did you win any of them, or is that a touchy subject? Sweet merciful void. She is trying to get herself killed. Crossnox's hand, 1 of 4, remember, reaches down to his belt and unclips something that makes every trained security officer in the room tense up simultaneously. A plasma grenade. Model K-77, if I am not mistaken. Vrelian military issue. Blast radius of 15 meters. Thermal output hot enough to melt through reinforced hull plating. In an enclosed space like this conference hall, it would kill everyone. Hostages. Hostage takers. Probably take out half the section and vent the atmosphere while it is at it. You want to discuss terminology? Crossnox says softly, dangerously. Let me educate you about consequences. He holds up the grenade, and with a deliberate motion that makes my stomachs clench, he pulls the pin. The small metallic ping as it hits the floor is the loudest sound I have ever heard. Time does that thing where it slows down and speeds up simultaneously. I see the Thexian diplomat's face cycle through 6 different colors of terror. The Yalaran starts hyperventilating, their tendrils going rigid. Even the Krendil warrior trained for combat since birth goes pale. The other hostages are frozen, caught between the instinct to run and the knowledge that running will get them shot. My team is shouting in my earpiece. Protocols for grenade situations. Evacuation procedures. Someone is screaming about negotiating. Someone else is calculating blast radius. It is chaos compressed into seconds. And Crossnox is smiling, holding that live grenade like it is a glass of wine. Now, he says, his voice cutting through the panic. Do I have your attention? The silence that follows is broken only by quiet sobbing from one of the delegates. This, Crossnox continues, clearly enjoying himself now, is what you should have felt the moment humanity entered galactic space. Fear, pure, rational fear of annihilation, because that is what your species brings. Chaos, destruction. The threat of total war. He walks slowly toward Cassidy, the grenade held out in front of him. The safety mechanism is disengaged. One wrong move, one slip of his fingers, one moment of carelessness, and we all become superheated vapor. Tell me, human, he says, crouching down to her eye level. Are you afraid yet? Does your primitive nervous system understand the danger you are in? Cassidy looks at the grenade, looks at Crossnox, looks back at the grenade. Her expression is thoughtful, analytical, like she is considering a particularly interesting puzzle. K-77 plasma grenade, she says almost conversationally. Varelian military design discontinued 3 years ago due to trigger sensitivity issues. 7-second delay after pin removal. Blast yield equivalent to approximately 40 kilograms of conventional explosives. Nasty piece of work. Crossnox blinks. I blink. Everyone blinks. You know your weapons, he admits, sounding almost impressed despite himself. I know a lot of things, Cassidy replies. For instance, I know you are holding that grenade wrong. Thumb position is off. You keep gripping it like that. Your hand is going to cramp before your point is made. What is happening? What is she doing? Crossnox's smile turns vicious. Perhaps I should let you hold it then. Would you like that, human? Would you like to feel death in your hands? He extends the grenade toward her, a mocking gesture, expecting her to recoil, to beg, to finally show the fear he has been trying to extract. Cassidy reaches out and takes it. Just takes it. Her hand closes around the live plasma grenade like she is accepting a gift at a party. No hesitation. No trembling. Her fingers adjust the grip, repositioning it with the casual competence of someone who has held many grenades in her life. Better balanced this way, she comments, examining it from different angles. Thanks. My hands were getting tired from sitting still. The room has gone beyond silent. We have entered some new category of quiet that does not have a name yet. Shock silence. Horror silence. What in the name of all gods is this human doing? Silence. Crossnox stares at her. His mouth opens, closes, opens again. No words come out. His entire psychological warfare strategy has just collapsed because the human diplomat accepted his threat prop like a party favor. My combat training is screaming at me. My survival instincts are screaming at me. My common sense is screaming at me. All of them are saying the same thing. The human is holding a live grenade. This is bad. This is very bad. Someone do something. But I cannot look away, cannot move, because Cassidy Wren is sitting there cross-legged on the floor holding enough explosive power to kill everyone in the room, and she looks more relaxed than I have felt in my entire life. So, she says brightly, looking up at Crossnox with that same smile, that infuriating, impossible smile. What happens now? Do we discuss your manifesto, or are we jumping straight to the dramatic conclusion? I am flexible either way. One of Crossnox's guards makes a strangled sound that might be a laugh or might be a prayer. I feel the same way. The human diplomat is holding a live grenade, making small talk with a terrorist, and acting like this is a perfectly normal Tuesday afternoon. My scales are not just itching anymore. They are staging a full revolt. Every instinct I have is telling me that humans are dangerous, unpredictable, and possibly insane. For once, my instincts are absolutely correct. Cassidy turns the grenade over in her hands like she is inspecting produce at a market. Squeeze, examine, rotate, check the weight distribution, test the grip. Meanwhile, my life is flashing before my eyes, and let me tell you, it is disappointingly boring. 23 cycles of standing at checkpoints. This is how it ends. Vaporized because a human diplomat decided to critique explosive devices during a hostage crisis. You know what I love about the K-77 series? Cassidy says, completely unprompted, addressing no one in particular. The craftsmanship. Varelian engineering really does not get enough credit in the galactic arms market. Sure, Thexian weapons are flashier, and Corendil guns have that whole intimidation factor, but Varelian stuff, reliable, functional, gets the job done. She is giving a product review of the grenade, the live grenade, that could kill us all. Crossnox seems to have forgotten how to speak. His forearms hang at his sides, weapons pointed vaguely in random directions, while his brain tries desperately to process what is happening. I know the feeling. My brain has given up entirely, and is just along for the ride at this point. Of course, Cassidy continues, tilting the grenade toward the light like she is examining a gemstone. The K-77 does have some quirks. The pin mechanism, for instance. See this housing here? She points to a section near the top with her free hand. her finger tracing along the metal casing with practiced familiarity. Several of the Vrelian guards lean in slightly, curiosity apparently overriding their terrorist training. Even Crossnox looks, almost involuntarily. The spring tension on these models was manufactured to Vrelian strength standards, she explains, her tone shifting into something almost professorial, which makes sense. Obviously, you design for your primary user base, but it creates an interesting secondary characteristic. The pin does not just arm the grenade, it actually locks the trigger mechanism when removed, which prevents accidental detonation from grip pressure. My translator implant struggles with some of the technical terminology. I think she just said the grenade is safer without the pin than with it, which contradicts everything I know about explosives, but human logic has stopped making sense about 6 minutes ago. Now here is the fun part, Cassidy says, and the word fun in this context makes me want to scream. Because of that spring tension, because of the lock mechanism, you can actually reset the system if you know the trick. It is not in any of the manuals, mind you. Vrelian military kept it quiet because they did not want enemy combatants disarming captured grenades. But if you have the right touch, her fingers move, quick, precise. She does something to the side of the grenade, pressing 2 panels simultaneously, while rotating the top housing counterclockwise. There is a soft click that sounds like the universe taking a breath. And then, casual as anything, she slides the pin back in. The armed grenade is now an unarmed grenade. The silence somehow gets even more silent, which I did not think was physically possible. There we go, Cassidy says cheerfully, examining her handiwork. Safe as houses. Well, safer than houses, actually. Houses can have all sorts of structural problems, gas leaks, faulty wiring. This grenade, though, perfectly stable now. She looks up at Crossnox, who has gone from terrorist leader to statue somewhere in the last 30 seconds. His face is frozen in an expression that combines confusion, horror, and the dawning realization that he has made a terrible miscalculation. You know, Cassidy says, conversationally, I appreciate the whole intimidation attempt. Really solid effort. The dramatic pin pull was excellent theater. Very cinematic. But between you and me, she stands up, brushing off her pants with one hand while still holding the now safe grenade in the other. She walks toward Crossnox, and he actually takes a step back. A terrorist, armed to the teeth, backed by 14 equally armed separatists, retreating from one unarmed human holding a disarmed explosive. You should probably leave the grenade tricks to people who actually know how they work. And then she tosses it to him. Just lobs it underhand, a gentle arc through the air, like she is passing him a ball in a children's game. Crossnox catches it on reflex, all forearms converging on the grenade in a panicked scramble. He stares at it, stares at her, stares at the grenade again. His hands are shaking. Actually shaking. The fierce revolutionary leader, the veteran of 7 campaigns, is trembling like a cadet in his first combat drill. How? He whispers, and his voice has lost all its authority, all its menace. How did you? Explosive ordnance disposal, Cassidy says with a shrug. Trained for 6 years before I got bored and switched to diplomacy. Turns out defusing bombs and defusing political situations use a lot of the same skill sets. Who knew? She turns away from him, from all of them, and addresses the room at large. Honestly, the psychological warfare approach was never going to work. You want to scare humans, you need to understand how we process fear. We are persistence predators. See, our whole evolutionary strategy was based on chasing prey until it died of exhaustion. Fear for us is not a stop sign. It is just information, data to be processed and incorporated into tactical planning. One of the Vrelian guards lowers his weapon slightly, looking to Crossnox for guidance. Their leader is still staring at the grenade in his hands like it might sprout teeth and bite him. The thing about humans, Cassidy continues, warming to her subject, is that we have been living with existential threats our entire history. Nuclear weapons, climate collapse, asteroid impacts, pandemic diseases. We got really good at looking death in the face and saying, well, that is inconvenient, let us figure out a solution. She meets Crossnox's eyes and her smile is gone. What replaces it is something harder, something that makes even me want to take a step back. So no, she says quietly, I am not afraid of your grenade. I am not afraid of your guns. And I am definitely not afraid of you. Crossnox's breakdown is not dramatic. There is no screaming, no ranting. He just sort of deflates, like someone let all the air out of his convictions. The grenade slips from his hands and clatters to the floor, completely harmless. His weapons lower. His shoulders slump. This was, he says faintly. This was supposed to make a statement. It did, Cassidy assures him. Just not the one you wanted. Behind me I hear Roken mutter something that my translator renders as, "What the hell are humans?" It is, I think, the most accurate question anyone has asked all day, and I have absolutely no idea how to answer it. The moment Crossnox's grenade hits the floor, his entire operation collapses like a house of cards in a hurricane. Revolution, it turns out, requires committed leadership. When your leader is having an existential crisis because a human diplomat just disarmed his intimidation prop and explained the technical specifications while doing it, commitment becomes a scarce resource. The Vrelian guards start looking at each other, then at Crossnox, then at Cassidy, then back at each other. You can see the math happening behind their eyes. This was supposed to be a statement against human aggression. Instead, their fearless leader just got schooled in basic weapons handling by the exact species they are trying to prove is dangerous. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a plasma blade. One guard younger than the others makes the mistake of asking, "Commander, what do we do now?" And that, right there, is the opening I have been waiting for. "Now," I say, my voice cutting through the confusion with 2 decades of command authority, "you put down your weapons and surrender peacefully, or we do this the hard way. Your choice, and you have 5 seconds to make it." My team moves on cue, shifting positions, weapons trained, presenting a unified front. We are still outnumbered, still outgunned, technically, but the psychological balance has shifted. Crossnox is staring at the floor. Half his people look ready to bolt, the other half look like they are reconsidering their life choices. 4 seconds, I say calmly. 2 guards lower their weapons immediately. Smart ones, survivors. 3 seconds. 3 more follow suit. The young one is practically throwing his rifle down. 2 seconds. Cassidy, because of course she does, chooses this moment to chime in. "Personally, I would recommend the peaceful surrender option. The medical facilities here are excellent, but they get really backed up when there is a shootout. Wait times are terrible. Could be hours before anyone looks at your injuries." She says this like she is recommending a restaurant. 1 second. The rest of the weapons clatter to the floor, all except one. A guard on the left, older, more scarred, has that look in his eyes. The true believer look. The one who thinks dying for the cause is preferable to living with failure. His weapon starts to swing toward Cassidy. I am already moving, calculating angles, knowing I will not make it in time, cursing every god I know and several I do not. Cassidy is faster. She does not run, does not dive for cover. She steps inside his firing arc, her movement so smooth it looks choreographed, and delivers a strike to his wrist that I only half see. The weapon goes flying. Before he can react, she has his arm twisted behind his back and is leveraging him to the ground with a technique that would make a Curendal combat instructor weep with envy. "Sorry about that," she says, not even breathing hard, keeping the guard pinned with one knee while raising her free hand in a calming gesture. Reflex. Old habits. He is fine. Just surprised. "Can someone grab some restraints?" Roken scrambles forward with stun cuffs, his eyes wide enough to fall out of his head. The rest of my team is already moving, securing the other separatists, collecting weapons, establishing a perimeter. Professional, efficient, exactly what we trained for. Except none of our training covered what to do when the diplomat you are protecting turns out to be more dangerous than the terrorists. I approach Cassidy as she stands up, dusting off her hands. The guard she took down is groaning but conscious. No permanent damage. Textbook restraint technique. Former military, I say flatly. "You mentioned that." "I did." She agrees. "What branch?" "Marine Force Reconnaissance. Then Special Operations. Then Explosive Ordnance Disposal. Then I got bored and decided diplomacy might be more exciting." "More exciting." I repeat, my brain trying to process this. "You found military special operations boring, so you became a diplomat for excitement." "Life is funny that way," she says with that smile again. The one I am beginning to realize is not confidence or bravado, but simple, honest self-knowledge. She knows exactly what she is capable of, and it does not occur to her to pretend otherwise. Crossnox is being restrained now, unresisting, still mumbling something about how this was supposed to work differently. The hostages are being evacuated, checked for injuries, given medical attention for shock. The Thexian diplomat is still cycling through colors, currently settling on something between relieved green and traumatized purple. "Vextower," Cassidy says, her tone shifting to something more serious. "You and your team handled that well. Good discipline, good patience." Most security forces would have stormed in and gotten hostages killed. It takes me a moment to realize she is complimenting us. The human who just single-handedly dismantled a terrorist operation through a combination of technical knowledge, psychological warfare, and hand-to-hand combat is complimenting my team. You disarmed a live grenade, I point out. Well, yes. And then threw it back at him. It was not armed anymore, she says reasonably. Perfectly safe. You could not have known he would panic. Could not I? She tilts her head, considering. He pulled a grenade to scare people. That is an act of someone who thinks fear is a reliable control mechanism. The moment I removed the fear, removed his perceived power, he had nothing left. His entire worldview was based on the assumption that humans are chaotic and dangerous. By being calm and competent, I did not just disarm a grenade. I disarmed his ideology. I stare at her. Really stare at her. And for the first time since she arrived at my checkpoint, I see clearly, not a diplomat pretending to be brave. Not a soldier pretending to be a diplomat. Something else entirely. Someone who understands that violence and peace are not opposites but tools, and knowing when to use which is the actual skill. You planned this, I say slowly. Not the hostage situation, but your response. You walked into this station knowing something might happen. Statistics suggested a 73% probability of an incident during my visit, she says with a shrug. Brilliant separatist activity, human integration tensions, political pressure from conservative factions. I would have been stupid not to prepare. So you just casually disarm terrorists between trade meetings. Only when necessary, she assures me. Most of my job is actually quite boring. Contracts, tariff negotiations, arguing about asteroid mining rights. This was honestly a nice change of pace. Rolkan approaches, his scales still pale from stress. Sir, medical teams are here. Station command wants a full report. And, the Galactic News Network somehow already have footage. It is spreading fast. Of course it is. The human diplomat disarming a grenade during a hostage crisis is exactly the kind of story that travels at faster than light speeds. I look at Cassidy, who seems entirely unconcerned about being galactic news. This is going to have consequences, I tell her. Political ones. Good ones, I hope, she says. Nothing builds diplomatic credibility like demonstrating competence under pressure. Plus it saves everyone the trouble of wondering whether humans can handle themselves in dangerous situations. Now they know. She is right, I realize. This entire incident, as terrifying as it was, just answered a question the galaxy has been asking since humanity showed up. Can they handle themselves? Are they stable enough to be trusted? One human diplomat just gave a very definitive answer, and she did it without firing a single shot. I am never going to understand your species, I mutter. Cassidy laughs, genuine and warm. Vextower. Half the time we do not understand ourselves. You get used to it. Somehow I doubt that very much. 2 hours later, after the statements, and the medical checks, and the 17 different security protocols, I find Cassidy in the observation lounge. She is drinking something hot from a container, staring out at the stars like she does this every day. Which, given today's events, maybe she does. I drop into the seat across from her, my scales finally starting to settle back into their normal pattern. Almost dying has that effect. Takes a while to recover. Coffee, she says, raising her cup. Humans run on it. Also spite and bad decisions, but mostly coffee. I need to understand something, I say, skipping the pleasantries because my brain has been chewing on this for 2 hours and I need answers. The grenade, you actually knew you could disarm it, or were you bluffing? She takes a sip, considering. No. K-77 series was discontinued because of that reset vulnerability. I spent 3 months in training doing nothing but disarming Velian explosives. Could do it in my sleep. Honestly, did do it in my sleep once. Actually, roommate was not amused. So when you took it from him, 0 risk, she confirms. Well, minimal risk. There is always some risk, but acceptable risk, calculated risk. The kind of risk you take when the alternative is watching a terrorist control the narrative. I lean back, my claws drumming on the table. Most species treat explosives with respect, fear, even. Humans apparently treat them like puzzles. We do respect them, Cassidy says. And there is something serious in her voice now. But respect and fear are not the same thing. Fear clouds judgment, makes you freeze, makes you predictable. Respect means you understand the danger, account for it and work with it. That sounds like a rationalization for recklessness. Maybe, she admits with a grin. But it works. Look, back when I was doing EOD work, we had a saying, panic is the killer, not the bomb. Bombs are predictable. They follow physics, chemistry, logical rules. Panic though, panic makes you rush, makes you forget protocols, makes you dead. So you just turned off your fear response. Not turned off, redirected. Fear is information. Your body telling you there is danger, useful information, but you do not let it make decisions for you. You acknowledge it, process it, and then you do the job anyway. She sets down her cup, meeting my eyes. Every human who works with explosives learns this eventually. You cannot afford to panic when you are holding something that could vaporize you. So you train, you practice, you drill the procedures until they are more instinctive than fear, and eventually, you get to a place where you can hold a live grenade and think clearly enough to disarm it. That is insane. Probably, she says cheerfully. But it kept me alive through 47 disposal operations, so I am calling it a win. 47. She has done this 47 times. Not just today. 47 separate occasions where she looked at something designed to kill her and calmly took it apart. Your species is going to give the rest of the galaxy a collective heart attack, I mutter. We already did, Cassidy points out. That is why Crossnox and his people are so scared. They see us handling danger like it is normal, and it breaks their threat assessment models. Most species evolve to avoid predators, avoid danger. Human, we evolved to hunt prey that was bigger and stronger than us. We literally chased animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence predators. That mindset never left us. She leans forward, and her expression is thoughtful now, less casual. We look at a problem, and we do not ask if we can survive it. We ask how we solve it. Different mentality, different approach. And yes, sometimes it looks reckless. Sometimes it is reckless, but it also means we do not give up easily. Fear is a choice, I say, remembering something she said during the incident. Fear is a choice, she confirms, or at least, letting fear control you is a choice. You cannot always control what you feel, but you can control what you do about it. That is the difference between being afraid and being a coward. Being afraid is honest. Being a coward is a decision. I sit with that for a moment, processing. It goes against everything most species teach. Respect danger, maintain appropriate caution, survive through wisdom rather than boldness. But humans did not survive through wisdom. They survived through stubborn refusal to quit. So when you walked into my checkpoint this morning, I say slowly, with minimal security, acting like you owned the place. I was making a statement, she finishes. Showing up scared would have told everyone that humans can be intimidated. Showing up confident told them we are not easily pushed around. It is all psychology. Diplomacy is just warfare by other means. And the actual warfare part, the combat training, insurance policy, she says with a shrug. Hope I never need it. Prepared in case I do. That is how humans approach most things. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, and stay flexible in between. I shake my head, my version of a human laugh. Reckless and effective. That should be your species motto. I will suggest it at the next council meeting, she says, grinning, right after I finish explaining why throwing a grenade back at a terrorist was perfectly reasonable behavior. Good luck with that. Luck, Cassidy says, standing up and stretching, is just preparation meeting opportunity, and I am very good at preparing. She heads toward the door, then pauses. Hey Vextar, thanks for not storming in. Your patients probably saved lives today. And then she is gone, leaving me alone with my coffee equivalent and my racing thoughts. Reckless and effective, I think again. The galaxy is not ready for this. I am not ready for this. But ready or not, humanity is here. And after today, everyone knows exactly what that means.